mugwumps. They're everywhere. They're speaking out. Board meetings, City Hall, Town Square, Courthouse, State House, even the White House. They must be stopped. They are disruptors.
Welcome everyone to Mugwump Media, and welcome to the almost cooler days of summer. So much nicer already here in September. And, all I can think of is how hot and dry it's been. Kevin, have you missed mowing in this hot, dry part of the summer?
I have not at all.
I bet you haven't. Poor Kevin, he gets out there sometimes in the summer trying to mow the weeds off because that's about all that grows. And of course, I look out and I don't really see Kevin because he's sitting on the mower with a dust mask on and just a cloud. You're like Pigpen. Pigpen.
Well, I'd prefer to think of myself as a cowboy on the dusty trail.
Right. If you guys have watched Charlie Brown and Snoopy, Pigpen goes around with like a little cloud around him. Well, this would be Kevin in the summer trying to mow the weeds off.
Maybe that's why folks stay away from me during the summer.
Maybe because of all the dust. It's not because you're stinky, although it could be because you get sweating out there too.
Could be.
Anyway, so I'm glad that it's cooler already, and I'm happy that it's September. It's almost September. Well, folks, my name is Juanita Bright. Over here is my husband, Kevin, here in Disruptor Central.
Hello, Juanita.
Hello. Today, we have some tidbits, some national tidbits. HHS, RFK Jr., you guys know I love him. And I have been collecting over about the last 3 weeks to a month some things that came out that kind of slid under the radar that you may or may not have heard the details of that are very interesting and very telling of where we're going in this country. Again, this is what we voted for in November, Kevin.
We voted for this, yes.
Yes, we did. So it's a good thing. But I thought I would kind of go through those pretty quickly. And then the last part of the video, I think we're going to do a Missouri update. We had given you a couple of things last week that I'm going to kind of follow up on because I have more information. So one of them pretty good, the other one maybe not so good. But anyway, we'll try to end on the better one. Now, first of all, we're going to do a fast, stunning cavalcade of RFK Jr. accomplishments over the last few weeks. Now, the first one that I'm going to do, and you guys probably saw this and shuddered the way that I did. This came out, let's see, it is News Nation. It is dated July 23rd, so it's been about a month, something like that. But the headline is RFK Jr. to reform organ donation system after federal investigation. Sounds pretty ominous. Here's how the story went. Lawmakers are looking to reform the organ donation system after a government investigation revealed disturbing practices at a nonprofit in Kentucky. Now, if you didn't hear what they discovered that had happened, and folks, here's the thing. People don't realize, so many people put their organ donation status on the bottom of their license, right? I have an acquaintance, a friend, that's all I'm going to say, who worked for years at a local big hospital here in Springfield. This person told me years ago, when I was probably in my 20s, to never put down that I am an organ donor. Never, ever put that on the license. Well, when I said, well, why not? And she said, because sometimes they're not dead whenever they start working on them. And, at first you're like, oh, that can't be true. Apparently it was true. And of course, it says here that the number, how many organ donors are there? Organ transplants are somewhat common, with more than 40,000 surgeries carried out using organs from deceased donors, maybe in 2024, according to an HRSA data. So lots and lots of them done, like 170 million people across the nation are registered organ donors. So this goes on a lot, and it makes you wonder how much of this has happened. Now, here's the details. That Health Resources and Services Administration investigation was initiated last year after a 2021 case in Kentucky where a man was believed to be brain dead from an overdose, but doctors were wrong. And the organ harvesting surgery was called off moments before he was taken off life support after a physician noticed the man moving and moaning while being taken to an operating room, the New York Times reported. That man survived, but he's far from the only patient to narrowly escape. And I saw this on a video that said that the guy had PTSD. I could see that. The HRSA investigation looked into 351 cases in which organ donation was authorized but never completed. It found that nearly 30% of the instances, 103 cases, had concerning features. At least 28 patients may not have been dead when surgery began, and 73 patients had neurological signs incompatible with organ donation.
If that information's true, then this is not an accident once in a while.
You know, that's right, Kevin. Ghoulish. Mm-hmm. And it puts me in mind of the harvesting of the fetal tissue, too.
This is evil.
We said it at the same time, Jinx. Yep, evil, for sure. And here's what RFK Jr. said about it. He calls the organ donation investigation results horrifying. Like a scary movie, Kevin. Our findings show that hospitals allowed this organ procurement process to begin when patients showed signs of life, and this is horrifying. There you go. That's true. HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said in a statement, the organ procurement organizations that coordinate access to transplants will be held accountable, he continued. The entire system must be fixed to ensure that every potential donor's life is treated with the sanctity it deserves. Incidents were most common in smaller and rural hospitals, the report found. That's crazy. And I'm telling you what, Kevin, this makes me think even more. I'm not going to be putting an organ donation emblem on the bottom of my driver's license. Not because I'm mean. I don't want to be have things ripped out when I'm alive. So there you go. Hopefully it'll get fixed. Here's something else. And this came out. This was from CBN News. Let's see. This came out. I don't have the date on it, but I know it wasn't that long ago. Possibly, I'd say about maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. HHS plans to cut funding from hospitals that perform trans surgeries on gender-confused children. Now, you guys knew about this. We actually reported this probably back in May. And we knew it was coming. It was from something that was signed by President Trump in January. He was all over this. And he was determined that he was going to get this stopped. A White House official told National Review in an exclusive report that the administration is in the final stage of review for a new rule that would make it a condition of hospitals participating in Medicare or Medicaid that they do not provide sex trait modifications to minors. This means that all hospitals that provide puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and gender transition surgeries to minors would no longer have federal funds to do so. As CBN News had reported, President Trump signed the Protecting Children from Chemical and Surgical Mutilation executive order in late January. So they warned them then. If you guys remember, we reported that. They warned them at that time, and like 5 or 6 of the big hospitals stopped on their own because they saw the. Let's just say that they saw the writing on the wall. But this is going to take care of the rest of them that are still doing it. Let's see. Our nation will no longer fund, sponsor, promote, assist, or support so-called gender-affirming care, which has ruined far too many precious lives, Trump wrote on Truth Social at the time. And he also said, directed the HHS to issue regulations improving the health of minors with gender dysphoria. He called it what it was.
Yes.
Without blatantly harming them. And boy, doesn't that speak volumes. In case you had not heard the the story of Chloe Cole. This actually mentions that. CBS News reported multiple people who have undergone these procedures as children and have since detransitioned have said publicly that medical professionals, they failed them. They failed to inform them. You hear all the time, especially in states like California, that these kids are removed from the home. And basically, they send them in to these health officials that immediately say, oh, well, we just need to get you on hormones. And you'll hear over and over, well, I never knew there was anything else that could be done. Because it basically has been, Obama did this several years ago, basically made it illegal for people to treat them for gender dysphoria by actually talking to them and helping them get through it. Because there is medical history that they can and usually do get through this. Chloe Cole, an outspoken detransitioner, says she was misled by transgender ideology and her medical team at the age of 15. I was approved for a double mastectomy all by the age of 15, she said in 2023. Who here really believes I should have had my healthy breasts removed, or that should have been even an option, she questioned. How many more children's bodies will be destroyed before you actually listen? Yeah, for sure. The last note on here, the report notes that these medical interventions on children carry significant harms, including infertility, sterility, sexual dysfunction, impaired bone density accrual, adverse cognitive impact, cardiovascular disease and metabolic disorders, psychiatric disorders, surgical complications, and regret. And that's the truth.
Anything but a treatment.
It's not a treatment. Mm-hmm. It absolutely is not. And it's they pretend, you know. And I can remember telling a young lady this. She said, well, what do I do? My friend wants to be called a girl, or, you know, it's a boy, but he wants to be called a girl. And I always tell her, you know, do you know this person? Do you love him? Well, yes, I love this. I love him. I've known him for years. And I said, if you love him, tell him, I love you, friend. Call him by name and say, I can't pretend with you. I'm going to call you the name that I know you by. Yes. I love you for you. And, you know, if you want to talk, I'll be glad to help you, but I will not pretend. And a true friend would not ask me to pretend.
Yes.
So anyway, let's see. I'm going to do one more of these, and then we've got, which one shall I do? They're both so cool. HHS, I'll save this one for later. HHS, this was Epic Times. This was from June 20. No, this is not from June 24th. This was from much further on. This was probably 3 weeks ago. HHS cancels $500 million in mRNA vaccine development contracts. Do you remember this, Kevin? Mm-hmm. I don't know if you heard that headline. Doge. Yep. It's continuing. He's doing it. HHS. The mRNA development activities managed under the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority are worth nearly $500 million, and they be stopping. Right now, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced on August 5th, so a few weeks ago, that 22 mRNA vaccine development contracts are being canceled and redirected because the data shows that these vaccines fail to protect effectively against upper respiratory infections like COVID and the flu.
Yes.
Basically, they don't do anything.
They don't work.
They don't work. The Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, contracts for the 22 projects are worth nearly $500 million, according to the August 5th statement. And I love this. This was what RFK said. He said, "We reviewed the science, listened to the experts, and acted," Kennedy said in a statement. "We're shifting that funding towards safer, broader vaccine platforms that remain effective, even as viruses mutate." And if you remember correctly, we were told in COVID, oh, yeah, you're not going to get it, and you're not going to spread it to other people. Lo and behold, how many of us caught it from other people who were vaccinated? Yes. And they got just as sick as we did, if not worse. As the virus mutated and turned into something else, it was just a mess. It really was. People got sick anyway. So it wasn't helpful. Some final stage contracts, this is kind of a final note, will be permitted to continue, but no new mRNA-based projects will be started, according to HHS. So very good. Okay. Well, I want to read more about RFK, but I think we need to get into some of our Missouri news that I wanted to follow up on. Kevin, what you think about all that?
Well, you know, it's kind of a mixed bag. It's good to hear that there's things being done. And Robert F. Kennedy, oh my.
Oh, yeah.
He's building quite a fan base. We need to pray for him extra because
yes,
there's a lot of people would like to have him gone.
There's one I might read next week.
He's costing them their money.
It is. There's one I want to read next week. I won't spoil it for you. But basically, I mean, he is going after everything. He is actually a special task force it's being developed. And I'm afraid for him because there is so much money that is associated with these childhood vaccine schedules. And I'm really afraid that the people in HHS that are putting this board together and reestablishing this task force, I'm afraid. I think they're spreading it out. He was sued by someone who was a friend to give him cover, I believe. Because it's like I told you before, I'm afraid somebody's going to try to kill him. So hopefully that will spread it out because he can say, well, I'm being sued, so guess we got to make this task force happen. But I'll tell you a little bit more about that later.
And the motives for keeping all this stuff from being taken away is
money.
It's a lot of money. It's the big chemical companies. It's pharmaceuticals. It's hospitals.
Absolutely.
You know, there's so much corruption that needs to be dealt with, and he's sure working on it.
I'm telling you, folks, whether it's geoengineering in the skies or whether it's the shots or whether it's the organ stuff, follow the money, Kevin.
Yep,
follow the money. Oh, my gosh. Okay, now, last week, you heard me talk about, I didn't have the details. It was just a couple of days after this had happened. You knew that we had lost an absolutely wonderful attorney general in Missouri. Man, I hate it when this happens. He'd only been in a few months, and now he's gone, and I'm glad that Trump picked him. But, you know, we're all worried about the new person who has been chosen and apparently has been just put in. Basically, she was, he announced her appointment. Basically, she doesn't have to be, nobody has to listen to her and agree with it. Basically, he has put her in. So she is now our Attorney General. This was from Act for Missouri. This was an update, and I love them. If you guys have never seen them, look at them on Facebook. They're wonderful. They give great little videos. They give little reports. They're short, but they're right to the point. They're very good. They do their work, too, their background. This was from an update by Act for Missouri. Kehoe announced Catherine Hanaway's appointment. Just to let you know who she really is, folks, I hate to tell you this, but this woman, and there's nothing we can do about it now, but just to let you know, this woman is very similar to the man that appointed her. A big business, corporate Republican, the kind that my ex-Democrat mama warned me about years ago. This woman is more for big business, I believe, than she is for the people. And man, we have had some wonderful AGs.
Yes.
We had Josh Hawley, who, of course, is now a wonderful senator. We had Eric Schmidt, who's doing a great job. He's a wonderful senator. Thank God he got in there and replaced Roy Blunt.
Yes.
And then, of course, even though I really liked Will Scharf, I also liked the gentleman that we just had in, Andrew Bailey. But, of course, he was picked by Trump. Now, this woman, just to let you know a little bit about her, she backed the Bear Bill. And if you guys remember the update that we did right around the time that they were passing all this stuff and the legislative session was ending in May, the Bear Bill, just to refresh your memory, HB 544, basically this bill would have shielded pesticide makers from failure to warn lawsuits when the EPA approved the label. Basically, it was their protection. Roundup, they bought Monsanto, all these glyphosate, that's what Roundup is, and they've pretty much proven that Roundup, when used in quantity, if you're around it a lot, literally, if you turn on TV, it talks about all these class action lawsuits, suing for Roundup because it gives people Parkinson's, they say. All kinds of stuff. But anyway, what this legislation would have done would be basically to shield these people from lawsuits. She not only backed that bill, but she personally, Kevin, testified in support of it. This woman went and testified.
Now, you might want to explain this as B-A-Y-E-R, bear.
Bear.
Not a Missouri bear, but a B-A-Y-E-R.
B-A-Y-E-R. They bought Monsanto, huge
Children's
corporation.
aspirin pharmaceutical company.
Pharmaceutical,
Yeah.
Let's see. And, if this would have been a huge win for Bayer, and fortunately, it didn't. It ended up not passing, thank God.
So far.
But if it did, this would have been a huge win for Bayer and a gut punch for Missouri citizens who knows, Kevin, could have gotten ill, sick, Parkinson's, cancer, who knows, from this stuff. And, it would have basically done away with their day in court. They deserve their day in court. Hannaway also was a partner and a former chair in the law firm Hush and Blackwell. Now, the Grain Belt Express, if you hadn't heard about that, this was something else that she was all in for. It was being pushed in Missouri during the last legislative session, and it was being touted as an energy power line, a ready-to-go solution to upgrade. And this was, again, I looked on their website. This is what they were saying about it. It was being touted as an energy power line, a ready-to-go solution to upgrade energy infrastructure and to provide reliable, secure, affordable power in the Midwest. Kevin, it sounds wonderful, like a godsend. Until you read the fine print. Folks, this was a Biden-era green energy program. It was basically wind farms in Kansas. And it was going to be a pipeline basically going across states, cutting across at least 3 or 4 states. And it was going to be taking place in Kansas, Missouri, and I believe Indiana, maybe more. But it basically was wind farms. And there was serious scrutiny about all of its hype concerning, oh man, if you look on their website, they were telling you all the millions of dollars that it was going to save. They were telling about all the data centers. They were telling about all the jobs it was going to create, how this wind farm was just really going to increase our energy. Now, what if we heard about wind farms in the past? Isn't it birds being killed? And what if the wind stops?
Well,
anyway,
and maintenance is more. There's a lot of maintenance to them, and the dollars don't seem to add up. Apparently, you have to supplement a lot of this green stuff with real dollars to go ahead and make it to where people will buy it.
Absolutely. So anyway, there was scrutiny from Andrew Bailey, of course. And not only him, but Josh Hawley. Josh Hawley was not on board for various reasons. I'll tell you those. In early July, Attorney General Bailey announced the guy she's replacing, while she's all on board with it, Attorney General Bailey announced an investigation into the project's developers over what he called a history of lies and false promises. This was straight from Bailey. And it was a private company. This is the thing. This was a private company. I think it's called Invenergy, something like that. Now, Bailey and Josh Hawley both were also opposed to the use of federal funding and the use of eminent domain. Now, if you all don't know what eminent domain is, basically the government, the state, will simply send you a letter and tell you that they are going to buy your land. It doesn't matter. Your opinion doesn't matter if you don't want to sell the land from your family farm that's been in your family for 100 years. That doesn't matter because they're going to put in their pipeline and their wind farms. And they're basically going to just pay you probably whatever they want to pay you for it.
Well, they have to pay what is considered market value and a little bit.
Well, gee, I wonder if that ever gets fudged, Kevin. What do you think?
Well, I don't know if that gets fudged, but boy, I'll tell you, putting things across our state without talking to the citizens first, I think I think there needs to be a little survey done, and let's see if the people want it before you start running across our land.
Shoving
Land's
it down their
limited.
throats. Well, and here's the thing. This is a private business that was running this.
Eminent domain is where the government can
That's right.
condemn land and
That's
purchase it if you want.
I saw pictures of citizens out protesting at the Capitol, very upset. No eminent domain for private gain. That's what they were saying. That's what they were protesting.
That's what the law says.
Yep. And I think that was one of the things that that the two attorney generals, current and past, Josh Hawley, were very upset about. They knew that it was not something that their citizens wanted.
Wonder what the promises were.
I wonder.
As long as the grass grows, the wind blows, and the sky's blue.
Right. So where did our new attorney general? Oh, and just so you know, Greenbelt Express was canceled in July of 2025, so just very recently. And it's because they think that part of it was because of all the pushback in the state of Missouri. Good job, everybody.
Yes.
And good job, our great now ex-Attorney General Bailey and Josh Hawley. Thanks for standing up for us.
Yes.
So the Department of Energy canceled it. So, and this was a loan too. So where did our new Attorney General, Catherine Hanaway, stand on this land-grabbing, shadowy financed green energy program? Well, while she was employed by Hush and Blackwell, she also served as lead legal counsel for the Greenbelt Express. Yeah, Hanaway even filed a petition to block the investigation led by the same man that she replaced, Andrew Bailey. And here's the bottom line. On two of the biggest fights that Missouri's grassroots conservatives have had recently with the state's uniparty, the Bear Bill and the Greenbelt Express, Catherine Hanaway has been on the corporate big business side of both. So that's the negative news for the day. I hate to tell you that, but we'll see what happens. I fear that basically our big business governor has basically put in somebody like himself. So anyway, now on the positive side of Missouri news, you remember last week I mentioned that both county assessors and some present and former state elected officials are now speaking out on, in some cases, very dramatic property tax increases that have been forced on 80, possibly more, Missouri county assessors by the Missouri Tax Commission. That 3-people commission that basically has decided we're going to be paying 90 to 110% of market value for land, basically meeting an international standard. Very strange. Basically just sort of strong-armed and took it on themselves, and they are now punishing counties who will not comply. Now, I wanted to tell you, I saw a video of a couple of the speeches at this tax forum I told you about that was being held July 21st. This came out July 22nd, and again, I think that it was posted by somebody on Act for Missouri, and I loved it. I sat and listened to it, and I even transcribed what was said by a couple of the folks because it was so good. I just loved it. They're speaking out for us. I think something's going to happen with this because, man, Jackson County, like 300%, some of the businesses are having to pay more. It's crazy. Anyway, I wanted to read a statement that former Missouri Senator from St. Charles County, Bill Eigel, made to the group. It was really good. My objection to property taxes in general is along 2 lines. 1, property taxes function as a tax on unrealized gains. And that's the truth. We have individuals in my county that have been in their homes for 30 years and are now paying on an assessed value of their homes that may be 3 to 4 times what they originally paid for it. That's not fair, Kevin.
No.
And most of those people are going to be older, retired people. Somebody was talking about the other day the fact that people, I think it was Darren Chappell, that was one of the things he said, watching somebody that has had their home for all these years and paid it off just before retirement, and lo and behold, now they're about to lose their home because they can't pay the property taxes.
Sounds like an old California story.
What's fair about that? Really? Yeah, sounds like the California story is right. But he said, you're punishing individuals who have lived in their homes the longest, and that doesn't seem right to me or us. The other problem that I have with property taxes is that we rely on government to tell us what our property is worth. Isn't that the truth? What do they do right? They don't even do the post office right. I come from a lot of experience where government does very little accurately or efficiently. In my county, 14 individuals, just 14 people, are responsible for accurately assessing over $14 billion in property and personal property in St. Charles County. There is no government employee where I think that would be fair. So those two dynamics are coming together in creating what is essentially an out-of-control tax burden. And that's why I think you see so many people are here tonight. In the video, it showed there was a lot of people there. And apparently they weren't real happy whenever one of the tax assessors came in. He mentioned that too. Everybody was not happy. Let's see. I want to give you a few things that I think you can consider that could actually bring down the burden and could actually even get passed in legislation. And this is a former legislator. He actually timed out in the Senate, and I think he might be right. These both sound good. Number one, I would like to see you restrict the ability of cities and counties to give abatements to big corporations on their property taxes. Now, Kevin, what an abatement is a decrease.
Yep.
Basically, putting the tax burden on somebody else, and these big companies like Amazon and, oh gosh, maybe the stadiums? Yeah. These private companies basically taking the tax burden off of them and putting it on the rest of the citizens when they don't even need the money. I guess trying to suck up to them. To big corporations on their property taxes. Right now in St. Charles County, we're giving away $23 million every single year just on big companies like Amazon. That probably, they don't need the cash. To put that in perspective, our personal property tax total bill is only about $110 million. If we stop giving away our money to the biggest corporations, we could get rid of a quarter of our personal property tax burdens right now. Last, I'd like to point out something that Representative Roger Reedy and I worked on a couple of years ago. That would be the idea of bringing a depreciation schedule to property.
I like depreciation.
I mean, they do it with other things. You can't take your car that you've paid on for 10 years and take it down and expect to pay the same on it. It's going to be cheaper, right? Let's see, to property and personal property tax. We almost passed a bill that would have put personal property on a 10-year depreciation schedule. So at 10 years, believe it or not, people could actually own their own property.
I like the sounds of that.
No more renting, Kevin.
No more
Basically,
paying.
we're all debt slaves. We rent our property that we supposedly own. Representative Darren Chappell also spoke. He commented to Bill Eigel about the absurdity of the fact that for both personal residences, personal and business residences, if you do visible repairs or fixing up, you will be punished with higher assessment and therefore higher property taxes. Again, unrealized gains. Basically, they encourage the broken window syndrome. These cities do, these counties do, that charge so much. It's like with us. We were going to pave our driveway coming into our business, thinking it would, be safer for school buses. It would be nicer. You wouldn't have all the nasty dirt going all over people whenever it's dry and dusty, like it is now, and getting on their cars. It would be a bonus. But if we did that, not only would it cost us out the wazoo, but it would increase our property taxes significantly. So basically, they punish you for improving and fixing up your property.
Yep.
That's ridiculous, Kevin.
It's absurd. There's no logic that says that's even a good idea. Talk about encouraging, like you said, throwing rocks and neighborhoods just kind of falling to pieces. We look at urban decay and rural areas. Oh my goodness, our Missouri towns. It's very sad to drive across Missouri now and see the turn we've taken and how all the small mom and pop businesses are just empty storefronts. And there's a lot of things we haven't talked about that's been happening in Missouri since the 80s. What's happened? We've lost our economy. We've lost our workforce. We've lost our income. We've lost, we're a service industry now, and obviously that's not working very well.
Yeah, this has got to change. And this is what has to happen for it to change.
Yes.
And I loved, Darren Chappell was, and I didn't hear all of it. I just heard a short piece of it with those two talking, and it was really good because they were saying the things that we all know and we all think. Yes. They're having meetings before the session, so I'm hoping something's going to happen. There's a big outcry, a lot of people upset about it. Christian County is so expensive. Literally, we had to do a renovation just to have any hope of having a business building, because in Christian County, not only are the taxes so high, but you can't afford to build a business building. The only people who can afford to come in and build a new business building are big corporations. Mom and pops like us have no chance, because you have to hire all these engineers and architects, and you have all these hoops that you have to jump through, and just so expensive you can't do it. International building standards. So
there's a need for standards. There is.
Well, we could talk about that too, couldn't we? Some of the places that we were forced to buy things had nails missing. So, just to say that. I'm not even going to go there.
There's a lot of topics here, yes.
But I'm telling you, folks, this is good. The reason this is good is this is getting information out, and they're hearing from people.
Yes.
I think this is egregious enough that people might actually do something. I think that this might actually get somewhere this year. I certainly hope so.
Encouraging young people out of our high schools to build a business in their hometown.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that topic in a long time.
That's very, very, very true. Well, folks, the good news, and we'll close with this, but the good news is this. Number one, nationally, Kevin, we're still getting what we voted for.
We are. There's a good movement.
Yeah, we just have to pray that RFK and all these other folks that are doing some great stuff are that they don't end up getting shot. So thank you, Jesus. Keep them alive.
Yes.
And number two, in Missouri, there's been an outcry from the citizens, and people are getting involved. People are paying attention. They're saying, what the heck? Why are we having to pay all this? And then be told, well, this is just how it is. You just better budget for it.
We're just doing it a little at a time. That's my favorite
I don't
statement.
even want to hear that again. I'm just poisoning you a little at a time. So it doesn't really matter if you do it that way. But people are starting to listen. They're starting to speak and really speak about the things that matter. And you know what, folks? It's our job to watch, to pray, to get educated, and to speak up where we can. Tell your neighbors what's going on. A lot of people just don't know what's going on. Have them listen to the podcast, because we're going to keep talking about this stuff. And you know what? Trust that God will answer, because I think that this is all part of the answer. I truly do. I really do. Don't you, Kevin?
Conversations. We need to bring these things back out in the public square.
Yeah, for sure. Well, folks, thanks for joining us again today. And, we hope that you have a great rest of your weekend. Cooler weather. It's nice. We had a lot of people coming out just because the weather's cooler and it's so much nicer. And folks, come back next week. Bring us some people with you. Share this podcast. Like, subscribe. We love coming and giving you information, and we're hoping that you're enjoying it, and we're hoping that it's raising your awareness as to what's going on. And, join us next weekend. We'll try to inspire you with more information, more conversation, and hopefully some encouragement. Encouragement is a great thing.
It's a good thing.
And, we promise to always try to keep you informed, inspired, and, folks, always critical thinking and independent. God bless.